just call Joe Karp. He will help you. People are still so ignorant about this, aren't they, Joe?
Unfortunately, they are. They're ignorant about it when they have time to plan, and they are both ignorant and absolutely frightened to death in crisis situations. They just absolutely get petrified, and it's sort of like, why didn't I see this coming? That type of disbelief in their own human frailty of denial of reality. Unfortunately, many people who are totally capable of acknowledging that their death is part of life, and that is a given, and they have to do some death planning, refuse to recognize the possibility that they may need long-term care and they have to take steps to protect it. It's sort of like the people in South Florida in several months who won't even bother to get some bottled water and batteries in their house because they deny we live in a hurricane zone. You know, you hope, and we haven't been hit for like 10 years, you hope that you won't be hit, but you take reasonable precautions. And the same thing is for long-term care planning.
Well, you know, Joe, it's funny because I've known you for so long, and that's the one thing that Bill and I really did. We did it with my mother with you. We've done it with everyone that ourselves and anyone I can ever get to think about it. That people just think it's, I don't know, they think they're either not going to die or that the kids are going to just figure it out. It is so dumb. But yet, I know that's how people are, right? I mean, they are procrastinators.
I don't know if it's done as well as just not dealing with reality. It certainly shows a lack of emotional intelligence, that you have to deal with realities, and some realities you have to plan for. It's still plan for the worst and hope for the best. I had a lady in yesterday who came in because she had a health episode in which all of her cognitive skills failed her. And she didn't know where she was. She didn't know who she was. She didn't remember things. She was totally beside herself. Her family was totally, absolutely a mess. And it appears it was a reaction to medication. And it appears now that she's okay. But she came in yesterday, and I met with her, and she said, you know what? I've had my warning. I've had my notice. Stuff like this happens out of the blue, and it looks like this was just a reaction to medication because I'm back to normal, but I now see how quickly things can turn. I want to make sure that I do some long-term care planning. And I talked to her about it, and I explained the pros and the cons. And my philosophy for people who do long-term and Medicaid planning is it's not about the inheritance to leave the children. I said, that's nice, but that's not what it's for. The function of the planning is to make sure assets are preserved, to ensure the quality of care of the people who earn the money, that the children will not have to support them, that they will maintain their dignity if they end up needing long-term care, because they won't have to say, and I said to her, she was talking about, after we had the conversation initially, I brought her daughter in, who was there, and we put her son on the phone, who was long distance, and I discussed it. And I said, if you do no long-term care planning, here's your situation. She has grandchildren, and one of her granddaughters will be bat mitzvahed next year. I said, you'll go to that bat mitzvah and you'll give her a gift. She said, of course. And I said, now, your other grandchildren are much younger. They won't be bat mitzvahed and bar mitzvahed for another 7 to 10 years. I said, if you get sick and you go broke, what do you want to do about your bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah gift to those grandchildren? Do you want to turn to your son and daughter and say, I gave the first one $5,000. Would you please take $5,000 of your dollars and tell them it's from Grandma? How would that feel? Would they be able to? Could you ask it? Or how would you feel that the other grandchildren got nothing from you? Wouldn't it be better to say to your kids, I want to make sure you hold that money so it's set aside. So if I end up needing long-term care and I need Medicaid, that money is there for them. And your kids can turn to them and say, Grandma wanted to make sure you always got treated the same as your cousin. Which would be better?
That's terrific, Joe. Terrific.
She welled up because she now realized her dignity and her place is at risk. And I said, forget about whether your kids can even afford it. Where would you want to be? And if you want to do something nice with your money, or you need new slippers because you're just tired of the old ones, wouldn't it be nice to say to your kids, you know, I could use a new pair of slippers. How much of my money do you still have left that you're holding? Can you get me a new pair of slippers? Or I want to give you gifts for the holidays. And all of a sudden, and I said, and suppose your daughter works. Your daughter has already said, if you get sick, you're going to live near me if you're in a nursing home. Not with me, but near me. She's very realistic. I worked all day. And I said, you'll then have money so your daughter doesn't have to run over every day to see how Mom is. She can hire a private duty attendant to come in for a couple of hours every other day to see that you're okay. So if she can only make it once a weekend or twice during the weekend, she has somebody who can report to her that's independent. I said, that's what it's all about. It's the difference between having a private room and a semi-private. I said, that's where it's at. And that's for a single individual. Obviously, for a married couple, you don't want to see your spouse be impoverished as a result of your illness. And I said, this is what it's about, and this is why you have to plan. It's sort of like you want to make sure that you have batteries for the flashlight so that if there's a hurricane and the lights go out, you're not in the dark. You know?
Good advice.
Just take care of some stuff, and it's just common sense. And you have to have the right people that you trust. And so, I say, you don't have to make yourself broke. I said, you can preserve some of the money. How much money do you have? And I ask this to people. How much of the money do you want to see socked away for you? So if you have $400,000, do you want to sock away $150,000? Do you want to sock away $250,000? You don't have to give it all away, and there's ways to give it that you're totally protected. So when you get a chance to talk to people, you have a chance. And then when you're doing crisis intervention, the options are not as good. They're not as good because that's just the facts of life with crisis intervention.
Well, can I just, let me interrupt so I can tell everybody who they're listening to. You know, I don't want anyone to miss who you are. It's Joseph S. Karp. He is a nationally certified and Florida bar certified elder law attorney. He specializes in the practice of trusts, estates, and elder law. His main office is up in Palm Beach Gardens, but he has offices in Boynton Beach and in Port St. Lucie. And you can go on his website, which is karplaw.com. That's KARPLAW.com. The thing that I would like to do, though, is to people who wanted to go to your March seminars were out of luck because there aren't any, right?
Right. I decided not to do any workshops in March because our newsletter went out a little late, and we reminded our clients that they were entitled to a free 3-year review. And those letters went out late, and I didn't want to find myself in a position where when my clients called up and said, I want a free review, and for me to say, I'm booked totally, and then they'd say, but why are you doing seminars and workshops for the public? You'll bring in strangers and not take care of your own clients. And I said, no, that's wrong. I want to take care of my clients first. Now, obviously, we still answer the phone and take in new business, but rather than do the workshops, which do generate a lot of attention and bring in a lot of clients, we decided that we would hold it off out of respect to our existing clients because they made us who we are, and we never forget it.
You're so appreciative. Well, let's talk about your April seminars, okay?
Sure.
I don't have, unfortunately, the new issue.
It.
I know you do. The new issue didn't come out yet, and I didn't have it. So tell us where we're going to find you.
I have two things. I have my dates for April, and I even have my April column in case you were so ahead of the game. My March column. I'm sorry, my March column.
I have the March column, actually. I just don't have the seminar stuff.
In April, we are going to be in Port St. Lucie, Tuesday, April 14th, between 1:30 and 4 o'clock at the Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. We've been doing workshops there for 15 years or so. So we're there. Jenny Bernstein is the attorney who will be conducting that workshop, as she has for the last 5 years, and she's also a board-certified elder law attorney. On Wednesday, April 15th, the Magic Tax Day, everybody, come to Palm Beach Gardens to the Marriott Hotel off RCA Boulevard and PGA Boulevard. It's Wednesday, April 15th, between 1:30 and 4 p.m. In Boynton Beach, we'll be there at the Courtyard by Marriott, which is on Congress between Gateway and Boynton Beach Boulevard, Thursday, April 16th, at between 1:30 and 4. And when I say between, don't walk in at 3 o'clock and say, look for the refresher course. We start on time at 1:30, and unfortunately, we usually run a little bit late on the 4 o'clock. But now that we're turning the clocks forward, you don't have to worry about driving home in the dark. You'll be able to be with plenty of light when you leave. Now, for people who come to the workshop, they'll be entitled to a free consultation if we think we can help them, and we didn't meet with them recently where they kick tires and they want to come in and kick tires again. But if we think we can help you, we'll offer them a free consultation. There are other people who need help sooner, and for those people, you can call up. The consultation is not free. But for some people who need it, or they say, Joe, if I see you in an April 16th seminar at the Marriott, and you give me an appointment for May 1st, I'm leaving town May 15th. Well, realistically, I'm not going to be able to help you get your estate plan done if you're going back to the Northeast, if you're a snowbird who happens to be a Floridian. So you may want to come in sooner and call up and see if we have available time, and I'll explain what we can do for consultations. Phone numbers and websites are important for that. And I'm probably still the only one who remembers that you called us Pencil Radio.
That's right. No, in fact, when I call to talk to Rich, who is our board operator, he says, ANITA Radio, which I think is so funny. Anyway, but you're right, Pencil Talk Radio.
I'll give you some email. I'll give you the website. And tell your children to go there. We get more children who now find us as clients. It used to be, the people who see our newspaper ads. I got to tell you, the number of people who the kids research, and sometimes what will happen, a parent will come in and say, my neighbor told me she used you, and my friend told me she used you, and my son found you on the website. I guess we belong here. So I'll give you the website so they can look at it. The usual www, which I have never typed in my whole life.
Right.
Karp Law, KARPLAW.com. It's loaded with information. It tells you about us. It tells you about the laws. It is full of information. It's not a poster. It's information. And our phone number, instead of giving you the office numbers in each office, I'll give you the one toll-free number, is 1-800-893-9911. Now, the workshops are free, and we would love for you to come. You don't need a reservation, but always be early because we do get full, and we start on time. So come on in. We don't take reservations.
And I'm going to start asking you some questions.
To remind everybody.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to give you a break that you don't have to keep talking. So I have a lot that I think people would like to know you a little bit more intimately. You know, we do this and you talk a lot about the business of estate law and Medicaid, but let's talk about Joe Karp for a change, because I know Joe Karp, and I love Joe Karp, and I love his wife Debbie, and they are just special people. When you first went to college, what made you think about becoming a lawyer? And then I know that you did not first become an elder law attorney. So why don't you give us a little history? Because I love to hear you talk.
I'll give you a little information, a little background. I'm a child of the 60s. So when I went to college, I started at Rutgers University, and it was the Vietnam War, and there was all sorts of turmoil, and I didn't like it. So I dropped out of college, and I moved to Greenwich Village.
See, I didn't know any of this about you.
I'm a college dropout. And I decided I would go back to college, and I went nights to Rutgers University commuting. So I finished my college in 5 years, and I worked my way through it and paid my way through it myself. And then I got a job after college. I had been working, but I got another job, and I hated it. And then somebody suggested that I had always been told the family line was, you're a Philadelphia lawyer. I still don't know quite what that means. I think it meant I didn't accept anything at face value and questioned everything. So I had a job, I didn't like it, and somebody said, why don't you go to law school? And I then looked into law school, and so I could go to law school at night and work full-time days so I could put myself through school. So that's what I did. I went to Brooklyn Law School for 4 years at night while working full-time. While I was in law school, I had a couple of law-related jobs, including with a Park Avenue law firm, and I didn't like that at all. I don't know that they would have been enamored with me because I always spoke my mind and said what I felt. I still do. And then I was offered a job. My last year of law school, I worked in the Bronx District Attorney's Office, and I was offered a job there, and I stayed there 3 years where I met my trophy bride.
That's what I was going to ask you. So that's where you met.
Don't you know how we met?
No.
Oh, you sitting?
Yeah, uh-oh. Yes.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I was picking a jury in a robbery case, and there was a juror number 9, who was sitting there carrying the New York Times. She was teaching at Lehman College. She was teaching statistics and psychology. And when it came time to go up to the bench to talk to the judge, who you would kick off, I said, is there anything against dating a juror? And the judge rolled his eyes and said, during the trial? And I said, of course not. And he said, why? I said, well, because juror number 9 is cute.
Oh,
And technically, as a prosecutor,
God.
I should let somebody who teaches psychology get off the bench, off the jury, because they might read into it too much stuff. I said, but she answered everything right, and she's cute. So if she can stay for the trial, there's no reason not to keep her, as long as I have the right to ask her out after the trial. Judge looked at me, this is the absolute gospel, and he said, you're keeping her because I'd rather look at her during the trial than look at you.
Oh, this is getting wild.
We then tried the case. The defendant, I was the prosecutor, was convicted. I reminded the judge of his... Now, I had no contact with her at all throughout the trial. It was totally benign. She was just juror number 9, except all my colleagues kept coming up to say, oh, yeah, that's juror number 9. She's cute, because I came back and talked about it during the trial. And then after the trial, the deal is in New York, the judges say to the jurors, if you wait outside, the lawyers will be out in a few minutes to talk to you if you have questions about the case or any comments. So I reminded the judge before the jury came back, of the juror number 9 situation, and he said, okay, the jury came back with a conviction, and I said, he said, okay, the jury's discharged. He gave him a stronger reminder than usual that the lawyers would be right out. He let me get the hell out right away, ran out, talked to a couple of jurors until I cornered her, spoke to her for a few minutes, and I did something that was so out of context with my personal behavior.
Yes.
I asked her out, and she said yes. And that is the beginning
my
of the story.
gosh.
I met juror number 9.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm not letting you get on this. I have another question. So, how did you know she wasn't married or anything?
Oh, because when you're questioning a jury, you find that out. Who do you live with? Do you have an friend? Stuff like that. So you know enough. And I knew she was educated, and I knew she was teaching at Lehman College, and I knew she read the New York Times, and I knew she was cute, and I knew how she spoke.
Oh, you're too
and I
much.
knew how she carried herself. And by the way, if you ever read Bonfires of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe,
yeah,
which takes place in the Bronx, is where the criminal act takes place. That was written after Debbie and I married and after we left.
Oh.
I was told by assistant DAs in the office and people in the courthouse that, subsequent to all of it, that he did his homework. Fiction writers, as you well know, don't just get information out of thin air. They try to write things with some degree of integrity and factual accuracy. They won't say there's a 7-Eleven in Times Square unless there is one. They just are accurate. And in that book, there's a story, and in it, an assistant DA does marry a juror, and I was told that he got my story from them. He didn't know my name or anything like that. So anyway, we got married eventually, and we decided to move to Florida. That's how we even timed when we were going to get married. So that's some of my background. We have 2 wonderful kids who are just absolutely sort of like their father, slow to develop but getting on the right track. Both of them, I don't know if you know this, both of them are now in law school.
Well, I knew that I knew one, and I knew the other one was going to. So this is a big change from what you were rearing them when they first went to college. Great.
Well, the answer is like my parents. I mean, my parents saw me as a college dropout. What did they know? They knew I had to find myself and find my own way. And I'm still a child of the 60s, so I'm busy taking care of people. That's where I come from.
Yeah, I know.
I come from that entire mindset.
Right.
That's why my business card, and all my lawyers, we're writing another lawyer, there'll be 6 of us. They all say counselors at law. And the clients the number of people who say to me, you're a counselor. And I say, look at the card. I say, we're all about trying to give people good advice for them and their families. The money is important, but how your families are dealt with through all of this and how they sit when you're done and what's right and what's fair and what works, it's very important. So that's my Debbie story.
Joe, that's a great story.
Aside, that judge has moved to Florida. He and his wife are now our friends, and he's my client.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And we get together. I found him through somebody else who said, this judge, did you know this judge when you were in New York? I said, are you kidding? He was my judge. He was my primary judge for 18 months. And I love him, and we get together. And
this was great, Joe.
It's a small world. So
thank you. That was a wonderful thing that you talked about. Make sure you get onto Karp Law, karplaw.com, and you can check out the seminars. And Joe, thank you. That was so delightful. I think a lot of people enjoyed that.
Take care.
All right. Bye.